Hello. Good evening from the United Kingdom. This is a bit of a special time. The channel has broken 200 subscribers. So I thought I'd just play Space Engineers on Twitch right from the get-go with only a few things altered in the settings. This includes increasing the player inventory and turning off the respawn pod, so if ever I wanted to open this game up to other players, it would be easier to do so. And I wanted to do a little bit of a playthrough or a tutorial that people have asked about what I do to start off on the Earth-like planet, how to survive. And I can see straight away that we are somewhere in the mountains, which is going to come in quite handy for things like ice. Oh, and that's perfect. Well, welcome to my new survival save, and well, we've landed in a pretty good place. I'm not going to have to worry about hydrogen, because look at that, ice. Well, I'll be superb. So straight away, one thing to remember is that your pod is using power. That will eventually die. So you need to establish some form of base, and to do that you need to take advantage of your respawn pod's functions. There's your survival kit for keeping you nice and charged up, and a few other things. This is an important tool. It can produce these ingots. So what you want to do is you want to produce ingots. So we set it up on the production queue, but to produce ingots we need stone. So we're going to have to go mining. So one of the first things to do is pick a place and start mining. I usually like to go a little way away, and then I look around to see if there's any decent stone, and well, yeah, this'll do. And then start digging down with the right trigger. You can hold down the X button to pick up stone that drops, or you can make a nice hole like this, and then hold down the X button and you'll pick up all the stone. Let's pop the light on, hold down the right bumper, press right on the D-pad, and you'll see straight away. Further we go down, the more stone will start to cut out. We're still only getting about a few hundred per. And as you can see, my inventory has been expanded. It's at 4,000. That's not the default. Down again. What you want is to start to see stone popping in the 200s. And the 300s. That's the kind of stuff we want. Then you can start holding the X button down until you get full inventory by watching the bar on the right hand side. Nice big hole. Activate your jetpack, pop up out of it, and scoot on back to your respawn pod. Hold down the left bumper, press B, removing the tool from your hand. And we've only used a little bit of power off the suit to do that mining. Then you want to go to your survival kit, move over to your stone, drop that in, and now you'll start to see the survival kit is producing what I asked it to do, which is iron, nickel and silicon wafers via the ingots. Now we can go and do another run, but what we want to try and do is we want to try and make a bit of a base. So we're going to need a place to build. Eventually what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to break down the pod, and I'm also going to be working with the progression system. Now this can be a bit tricky to use, but it basically requires you to build certain things in the game to unlock other things. We'll go into that a bit. But first we want a platform, because what we want to do is we want to try and get base power, and we have everything we need to make a working base. You'll see it here on the build menu on your left stick. Light armor blocks, basic assemblers, basic refineries, wind turbines because we're in a windy area, solar panels if we wanted extra power when it's daytime. But we're going to be building wind turbines. So we've run out of stone, but that's fine. What we want now is to queue up a few hundred steel plate. Once we've queued those up, you can see the command on the screen there. Right bumper. Now you'll notice that it's going to take a lot of mining, but we're okay at the moment because I want the 11 steel plate, because I want to start getting a base platform. So we'll come over here somewhere on the edge and we will get some light armor blocks. Now when you put them down, you notice, look where they're placed. You can do a placement like this, or you can hold the left bumper, press the right trigger, gravity aligned placement mode, or local grid placement mode, which will move your blocks based on the grid that's aiming to. There's no grid at the moment, so we're going to switch back to gravity aligned placement mode. We're looking around to try and find a decent place to pop a few blocks. No need to worry about welding these up. You just want to hold things like a refiner and so on. So you just want to make a few of these blocks. Pop them down. You can always create a more functional base later on. This is, there we go, we are now out of steel plates, but that's fine. I've got what I wanted there. Now we're going to have to do some more mining, because what we need to do after we drop some more stone back in here, like so. We want to get more resources in, because the idea is we're going to build a tower of blocks with more metal plates, and then we're going to construct our wind turbine, because eventually what we're going to do is we're going to bring the survival kit from this particular pod over there. The idea is that we no longer need the pod. Some people convert it into a mining ship. I prefer to convert the 4 thrusters into a cargo container because they give you metal grids, and that's very useful for storing in the early game. So in a moment I'll throw more stone in to the production. That's better. Still getting those metal plates going. Steel plates we need. I've got 14. So put the rest of that in there. And we're pretty high in the mountains. You can tell this because the oxygen's low, but we can still open the helmet with the right bumper and left on the D-pad. I'm not going to bother too much in the design of this. I'm just going to pop some blocks down. Possibly another row. And what I want somewhere along this line is going to be my tower. I like to go up about 11 or so blocks, then come down 1, and you'll see why when I build my tower. And since we're near an abundant source of ice, I'm not going to worry too much about using my hydrogen fuel on the jetpack. I think we can start looking at the tower. So starting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You come down a block, down a block, down a block, and down a block, and then whoop, we're back over to the survival pod. Check the ice situation. 300 ice, and we have a hydrogen bottle which we can put in our inventory, which will extend our flight time. Very useful. So actually what I want to do now is I'm going to use the build planner, and I want a wind turbine. And if you've watched my other tutorials, you know how to use the build planner. But if you haven't, it's pretty easy. Open up your build menu, press X. This will put your chosen object into the build planner. And then you can add components from the build planner to the production queue. And what you'll see is that it will start producing them, but because we've used a lot of our iron, we need more. So it's more stone. I'm not going to go too far this time. I'm just going to pop some. And because we don't forget where we are, press the inventory button, hit the left trigger, and press X. And just put it name it something like small mine. That way you know where your small mine is. Actually, before we do that, let's quickly back over to the respawn pod, and we will... There it is. Recharge the suit. And because we know where the small mine's going to be, we'll go and get some more stone. So some good quality stone on the surface there, briefly. Not so much now. Doesn't hurt to pick up some of the bigger pieces as you're going. The ideal thing is to get your basic system up and running as soon as possible. So this is concentrating on getting all the resources needed and the power needed to run it. What you want. There we go, and some more stone now. As we're going down, you can see the change in the actual geology of the ground. It's much thicker stone goes up there. Look, there's dirt, so you'll get less stone out of those layers. And for what I want to do, a single wind turbine will be enough. So we pop that lovely stone in. If you find that 1,000 litres on these boxes and survival kits is not enough, you can always change the settings in the menu. Again, I have a tutorial on that. So we're just going to keep on feeding the machine with stone until it produces the components we need to make a wind turbine. There we go, we're getting there. And while I'm just waiting, I have to say thank you again very much for the reaching over 200 subscribers. Something I never expected. And I hope people find the little tutorials I've done so far useful. And I hope new players find this particular video useful. It's not so much a tutorial, it's just me talking about playing the game, which I suppose in a way is a tutorial. Right, so now we've done that, we should potentially have enough ingots to handle what we're doing. So what we can do, and this is really useful, is hold down the right bumper and move using the D-pad and pop those ingots at the end. Same as the steel plates, you can move everything you want around. Again, I have a tutorial in my tutorial series on how to move things when you're producing parts and components. But it doesn't hurt to put a bunch of steel plates and a bunch of ingots into production so that you're not really having to queue up 50 or 60 when you should already have enough iron, nickel, and silicon to handle it. If you find the production of these things takes too long as well, you can always change that in the settings. You can turn your refiners and your assemblers to a max speed of ×10, although that will make stone refine very, very quickly in a refinery, so it won't really look as though it's working properly. I mean, I could go off and do some more mining, but this is almost done, so let's have a look. As I said before, because we're in such a area as this, you'll be very lucky. You can actually dig down and you can collect on your way. Actually collect some ice. Not much, just a little bit. And it will help replace any ice that was lost. Right, okay, so in theory we have the parts now we need from the build planner. So we can withdraw the components for the build planner and hopefully we should be able to build us a wind turbine. You want to pop your first wind turbine here on the top, and then we'll get this welded up. If you find that this takes too long, again, you can do that. In the settings you can change the time it takes for things to weld. I leave them at default. So there we have it. There is a wind turbine. That will provide enough power to start getting our next things, which will be a basic assembler and a basic refinery. So what we need for that, it says there, computers, motors, construction computers and steel plates. 10 computers, 10 motors, 10 construction computers, 20 construction computers and 120 steel plates. Now we don't have to remember this. Again, press X, pop it on the build planner, and your life will be much, much simpler. Can guarantee it. Now what I did there was I used the shortcut rather than actually going in to the survival kit. By holding down the left bumper and pressing inventory, I put all the components that I need into production. But again, we're probably missing, by the look of it, iron. So let's go and collect some more stone from the small mine. But before we do that, let's just have a look at this. Should be enough room. Yeah. I'm going to pop those steel plates back in the pod so I'm not carrying everything under the sun. Select where I want them to go. There we go. And I'm just going to refuel, recharge. Don't need to go to full. When you drop down, don't forget to hit your jetpack. Don't want to fall too far. Right. And we go again to dig. When you start getting to 200, 300, you can start belling out the hole. Give yourself more room to work. By going round in a circle a few times and picking up all the stone. And if you watch my other tutorials, you'll also see And eventually you can start making drill rigs and using sensors. You'll also have noticed when we built the wind turbine, we unlocked blocks in the progression system, allowing us to build even more things. We'll cover that probably in the next tutorial. This is really just to get a basic setup going. And there are also ways to use your start pod to grind down and weld up certain components to unlock blocks even earlier. There is a way of doing it. I'll probably go into that one on the next part of this. But for now, I'm just going to keep on finding stone and building up various components as we go. As you can start to see, what we're going to do with those steel plates actually is we will remove them from the list by holding down the right bumper and pressing A on the component you want to remove. It removes them at 100 at a time. It's much quicker. And now we've got enough ingots, the system should start to produce what we want. And so I apologise for anybody watching this. This is live on Twitch, so everything specifically being done now. There's no cutting, there's no editing. This is all raw gameplay. This is as raw as it gets. And it is my 51st birthday today, and 25 years married, which is another reason that I'm doing this little thing. I need some more stone feeding into the beast that is the Great Devourer, otherwise known as the Survival Kit. Things will be much faster soon. As I go along with this as well, I'll also be talking about how to recognise patches of ore in the ground, because it does take some getting used to. It's a lot easier on places like Mars. The biomes are easier to see the actual patches you're looking for. On the Earth-like planet, it's much trickier. There are certain things to look out for, and you are best trained to find these resources during the day. If you've ever spawned, or you spawn near the ice lake, if you fly over the ice lake, you'll spot these dark splotches in the ice, and those are your resources. They're a lot harder to see on the ground. No. Should have what we need soon for it to make the last remaining parts. There we go. Off it goes. And what I don't suggest doing when you build your platform up is putting your survival kit in with your assembler and refinery. Even though it can help, it tends to be more trouble than it's worth. My suggestion would be, if you're going to have multiple of things, have multiple refiners, have multiple basic assemblers linked together, and don't stick the survival kit there. Put a H2O2 generator in the system by all means, but have the survival kit linked to that and nothing else. Right, we cannot withdraw 56 steel plates and 20 steel plates. So we probably need some more components, but we can start building up our refiner and so on. So there's the basic refinery. As you can see, when we put the ghost of it down, you can rotate it. And it's only a basic refinery. So it has 2 ports either side. I tend to like to pop it somewhere here, because then I can build a cargo box on the side of it. So we'll have a look. So yeah, we're going to need to pop those steel plates in, but we can start welding things up, at least to get it going, to save some time, until it tells us otherwise. Always have more than you need. So, in fact, we're going to need more stone. There are more efficient ways of doing this, but this is more aimed at people who are just starting out, who may make mistakes, who might not want to do the entire efficiency thing, who might just want to get to grips with the game. I don't claim to be an expert at this game. I used to play it way back when it was on early access, when it first came out on the PC. None of this existed, of course. And then eventually I found out it was coming to the Xbox, and the Xbox One seemed a no-brainer to me. So the moment that it came out, I had it on pre-order, I picked it up, and I've been extremely pleased. Keen have done an absolutely fantastic job on this version, on responding to the community. There is the Space Engineers Xbox Facebook group, which I will leave a link in the description, that Keen also visit. It's a great place to come and meet people, like-minded engineers. There's a Discord server as well. Again, I will leave those links. You'll also be able to chat to me. I'm there as well. So let's get this feeding the beast again. A lot of this game, especially if you have the settings mostly on default, is all about patience. If you need to speed any of this up, feel free to go through to my other tutorials, take a peek and take a good look at that. There are some there's a tutorial on the menu and how to change the game settings, and some of the recommended settings you can alter. As a caveat, as I said, if you do alter your refinery speed, you will find that your refiners refine stone very quickly, and that can lead to it looking like it's broken. It isn't, it's just doing it that fast, it doesn't really register. Alright, just getting all the iron ingots required to build the last few metal plates required for this build. And then we'll have a basic refiner. Obviously, it will be a lot easier when we have a basic assembler and a refiner. So while it's doing that, I'm just going to nip down the small mine again, and I'm going to get some more stone in advance. We should be able to scramble down there. You could probably go deeper as well. As I said, hold down the X button while you're drilling like this, and you will pick up various bits of rock that drop. It's quite useful when you're in space because, of course, everything's floating everywhere. Or you can just hoover it all up after you're done. Getting little bits of rock there, so we probably need to go deeper to get the good stuff. And just hold down the X button on this pile, and you'll have no problems whatsoever in collecting what you need. There's my little hole. Then we'll get the survival kit, processing some more stone while we're at it. You can keep tapping the stone button if you want as well and constantly add it in. Right, so we want some more steel plate. We've got power coming in. Have a look at how much in a second. Still missing some steel plate, but that's fine. We are going to make more. Always remember with Space Engineers that when you're playing it, don't rush it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that's one of the best things to remember about the game. You don't have to weld this all the way. You can just weld it over the functioning line, but if you weld it all the way, it will be protected from damage, or at least will be more protected from damage than it is already. Let's throw that stone in here. So we should be able to, now we'll be able to refine what we need much quicker, as you'll see in a second when I put the stone that I've got here in here. As you can see, that is a lot faster and the yield is much bigger. This is why you want to get your refinery, because when you've got your refinery, the build planner will remove that. We will add a basic assembler to the build planner, and then we will notice you can't produce anything. So we need to build this. Got to use our good old trusty survival kit still. But you can, any box, any panel like this, put things into production off the build planner directly, or you can use these little controls here, like that. And we're going to need a lot more in the way of ingots. So let's get ingots running. Let's put another 500, 600 ingots on. And go mining again. This is your equivalent, to use the Minecraft word, punching trees. Your basic resource collection. I actually find this oddly therapeutic. What we'll do is we'll keep getting resources, getting things going. As you can see all the raw gameplay. I will be putting this up on YouTube as well. So if you missed my little Twitch stream, don't worry. It will be up soon on YouTube, as long as it takes YouTube itself to get this up and running. Let's try and go down a bit further. There we go. Up we go again. Rinse and repeat. But I could not have asked for a better start because of all this lovely ice that's around in the area. That is a brilliant, brilliant start. What I can do as well, if I want, is I could refine the stone in my refiner and then carry it to the survival kit. Ideally I want an assembler, but this will be faster. It would be even faster, as I said, if you'd taken the refinery speed to ×10, but it does run the risk of making it appear as though it's broken. Excuse me a second, I'm just going to have a drink of my tea. It's good stuff. And then, once this is done, I'll grab all these ingots out of here. And don't throw your gravel away. You'll need that to make nuclear reactors when you get that technology unlocked. If you want to follow along with this as well, if you decide to build more than one refiner, remember you're going to have to do the work. My suggestion would be to build an assembler and a refiner and use those. Because the more you link into your system, the more you have to do to get your basic system up and running. So as you can see, this really does chew through your resources. So while it's doing that, again, off we go into the small mine. I've heard people describe this as tedious or boring. I don't know, I find, as I said, it's therapeutic. I will be doing other little tutorials fairly soon. I've got a couple of ideas for some things. I may look at building your first ship, just a small atmospheric vehicle. and I may then go through the process that I used to build one of my ships, which was on my other stream, because that vessel is pretty good and manages to get back from space and into space really well. Do the same here. I'm going to pop some stone in for refining there, and then I'm just going to use my refiner. This is much faster. So the idea is to eventually break down your respawn pod when you've got your survival kit safely placed elsewhere. You can build a new survival kit, which I recommend just in case you make a mistake. You've then still got this lovely survival kit there. Talking of which, it's always wise to come back here and just refuel a bit. And rather than building this thing as we go, we're going to withdraw what we need from that box using right bumper and inventory button. And bear in mind, this has one port, and you want that port, when you put it down, facing that way, because that will link to your refiner, and your assembler will then pull from your refiner, making a nice little functional system. See what's left to build. Some more steel plates, more motors, more steel plates. So again, and this is what you'll be doing in the early stages of the game. Some more of a drop here. You can also double tap the trigger, and there are two modes to your drill. You have mining mode with the right trigger and clearance mode with the left trigger, which will not generate any resources but makes a nice tunnel. Let's just scoop up these, waste not, want not, even though they're tiny. As I said before, if you have any ideas for tutorials that I might be able to do, or you've got a question, if I can't answer it, then I can usually point you in the right way or tell you if it's possible. People are asking things like, can you put a camera feed onto a LCD screen in the Xbox One version of Space Engineers? And I'm sorry to say no, not without the requisite script, which are the purview of PC players. Scripts and mods. There are no mods on Xbox One, even though Mod.io is a mod site. The only things you can download from there are worlds and ship blueprints. There are no scripts yet. Scripts are coming, but they will be a curated pack of scripts, the same as when mods come. Mods will be chosen by Keen from community requests. So go to the Keen support site, register your interest on the mods you like. If you like the modular encounter spawner, or you like build and repair, or the master builder or builder's eye, whatever it's called, then go there and ask, and hopefully Keen can bring some form of extra content through mods in that regard. What we'll do as well eventually is we will expand our power, because if I've done it right, looking at the control panel, yep, wind clearance, optimal. So we should be able to place another 4 wind turbines there, giving us a fair amount of power and allowing us to have a decent platform. That's why I like these towers. And Kanajashi, or I think that's the name on YouTube, excellent PC player, also does Xbox tutorials. Thanks to Kanajashi, I learnt this trick, and I think it's brilliant, so I use it all the time now. It's well worth doing. And another little tip for you: when you're putting things into inventories like this, start at the left and work to the right. It's doing that. I'm going to let that do its own thing. Off we go again into the mine. Chunks of rock dropping. We can go down even further as well. Don't be frightened about digging down in Space Engineers or anything like that. The tunnel is not based on physics, so it won't collapse on you. But the voxel deformation, terrain deformation, is pretty cool. And you can make some very nice underground warrens with the drill when you're mining. I've mined out huge caverns before now that would make the dwarves of Moria proud. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just throw all this stone into this. It's easier. Much quicker. And the yield's better. Again, when you're taking things like the iron, the nickel and the silicon out of an inventory, start at the left and just press A and it will take the left one, then the next one, then the next one. Like this. So if you get bored waiting for it to do, you can just sit there and do this if you want. And you can move things around as you want by, again, holding down the right bumper and moving them with the D-pad. So, there we go. I just want to get the assembler sorted for this. And then we should start to see more components. Start to build up the assembler again. The last few motors will make this functional. Should have just enough to get that above the functional line, and because I always built more things than I require, there is your first two things you need to start becoming self-sufficient in Space Engineers on the Earth-like start. Now we have the basic refiner and assembler. We can start looking through the various options in production. We can look at potentially getting new tools down the line once we bring our ingots over from the survival kit. And now we will be able to refine and build all the components we need a lot quicker. With no loss of resources. Just to show you the difference in this. Let's go to here. Move across to there. Make sure we're on the right slot. Right. There we go, on one more mining run before I close out this particular stream, which has been going for almost an hour. Because we've got a really good start, I'll be able to get my oxygen generation off to a good start as well. There's plenty of ice around, and even without big chunks of ice that you can drill out from the deposits that you can see on my screen, you can still dig up snow. And provide you with supplemental resources. We're not going to use the survival kit at all. We're just going to throw all this stone in and get a much better control of what we want. Now we're going to look at boosting more power. There's the production off the assembler. And that's what we'll need to make another set. Here we go. If you look how fast this is compared to the old system, this is why I suggested getting the refiner and your basic assembler up as quickly as possible, so that you've got access to all the resources, all the components you need to build quickly, efficiently, so that you can boost your power output and start looking at providing a stable base. As you can see, compared to the survival kit, that is much, much faster. And there we go, we now have all the things we need to build another wind turbine. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Bring it up closely. There. Should be able to weld that up. No, I'm not too worried about running out of hydrogen because I've got my hydrogen bottle. And there is another wind turbine. And you'll find when we have a look at the second wind turbine, you will see that that's also optimal. That's it. One basic assembler, one small basic refinery, 2 wind turbines and a platform, and you have the power that you require to keep your base running. So that's it for now. Stay safe, take care, have fun, happy engineering. Until the next one, I will be doing a part 2 on this and some other tutorials. Thank you very much for getting me over 200 subscribers. Something, as I keep on saying, did not expect. Look after yourselves. Bye for now.